Batman v Superman is a pretty stupid movie. No, it's not the worst superhero movie ever made, and no, it's not even the worst superhero movie made in the last 5 years or so. Sony took care of that 2 years ago with this super long commercial for Sonic products. It's not even the worst superhero film of the year, but that doesn't mean it's a good movie, because it's not. It's full of shit, and with the amount of people that made videos about this movie when it first came out, either defending it or calling it a gigantic piece of shit, I figured it was better to wait until some time has passed, just like I did with my X-Men Apocalypse review, although I'm not making a super long video on the stuff that's wrong with that movie, because fuck that movie. Let me start by telling you that there are things in this film that are entirely subjective. Some things are not for everyone, but there are objectively wrong things with the movie, and those are the type of mistakes I'm going to try to point out in this video. So if you like the movie, then don't let my opinion dictate what you should or shouldn't like. But just remember, before you go and do a video or watch a video explaining why the critics are wrong and blah blah blah, critics tend to review a movie based on what they think the quality, not the enjoyment they had while watching a movie. It can be strange at first, learning to tell the difference between something with value that you happen to like and something with no value that you also happen to like. But then, how could we judge movies like 2001, Synecdoche, New York, and The Lobster? Movies that were made to make you think and reevaluate your own life, with the offer of entertainment coming in second place. If a movie's quality depended on how much someone enjoyed themselves while watching a film, then what type of criticisms could be made? What if Bob, your creepy next-door neighbor that rapes cats, told you that The Dark Knight was a bad movie just because the patch of cocaine he took while watching the movie almost killed him? You'd say that wasn't fair criticism, now was it? And then you would walk away slowly because you're not sure if Bob is the Zodiac Killer or not. My point is, when reviewing any work of art, you should be reviewing the work of art. Of course, in most movies there are infinite points that are entirely subjective, and where one person loved one character, another person found that character annoying. But there are also several parts of a movie that are objectively right or wrong. For example, if you see a character with their mouth closed and then they start talking but the mouth stays closed, you'd say the movie is poorly done because the sound doesn't match the image.
Human silver lining.
Yeah, it's amazing somebody can survive that.
Maybe there'll be others.
Good morning, everyone.
After all that said, if you're still pissed because many critics bash this movie on Rotten Tomatoes, let me give you a few tips. First of all, Rotten Tomatoes just aggregates reviews. They just put them all together. They don't make or pay critics. And the majority of critics that are approved on Rotten Tomatoes are what I call big boy or big girl bloggers. People that need the validation of Rotten Tomatoes to feel like their opinion matters. Because trust me, there are plenty of critics that when you click to read the full review, you find something of this quality. And the amount of people that watch those websites and blogs are usually this. As you can see, not every critic approved by Rotten Tomatoes is something I would call trustworthy. The best thing to do, if you like seeing and reading reviews before deciding on to watch or not to watch a film, find a critic that has a similar taste to yours or one that makes interesting content. I'll leave a few of my favorite critics in the description if you want to check them out. Now, it's time to stop talking about reviews and start talking about Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. The director's cut, of course, because that's the only one watchable. We live in the age of superhero movies. Every year there are at least 2 movies opening, and this year we have more films about superheroes than ever before, and sometimes they suck. Batman v Superman was one of the most anticipated movies of 2016.
On the list, March 25th, that's right, Batman vs. Superman. I really want to see this. The first trailer I enjoyed.
Bruce Wayne meets Clark Kent. I love it. I love bringing people together. How are we?
Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Batman and Superman together in one film, and they're not even on the same side.
Batman vs. Superman. Let's not forget, guys, it's Batman vs. Superman.
Number 1, Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice.
it was the first time that Superman and Batman would be seen in the live-action movie at the same time, alongside other popular DC characters like Wonder Woman and this Thing. Right before the movie was released, the embargo dropped and the first wave of reviews appeared online. They were largely negative, and the internet, the calm and quiet place that it is, kept itself that way. It didn't start creating rumors about other studios' interference and briberies. Nothing like that. After the success of another superhero movie, Warner Brothers announced that a 3-hour R-rated version of the movie would be released on Blu-ray, and that version is the reason we're here today. Let me start by saying that I actually like this version, to a certain extent. In fact, this version put me back on board with the DC extended universe that Warner Brothers is trying to create. And then Suicide Squad told me to fuck off. Now that I said I like the film, let's talk about what's wrong with it. Because unlike some people think, the extra footage doesn't make the movie perfect. And enjoying a movie isn't the same thing as the movie being great or even good. I'm going to divide this video with transition slides, like the ones people with no chin use, to help me organize my criticisms. There's an African country in civil war where Lois Lane is interviewing the general of the opposing side. The rebels discover that one of the journalists is CIA and kill him. The CIA authorizes a drone strike to kill the rebels. Superman destroys the missile and the drone and then saves Lois. Mercenaries that were there alongside the rebels kill those same rebels and burn their bodies, to make it seem like it was Superman who killed them. The US soldiers that arrive to the village don't even question what happened to that drone strike. In the congressional hearing, the only witness that speaks about what happened happens to be the only one that was bribed and threatened by Lex Luthor. The committee may have held Superman responsible for the death in Africa. This part is vague. Lex Luthor is bringing kryptonite from India to Metropolis. Batman knows this and has been holding a grudge for Superman ever since the incident in Metropolis, so he tries to steal it. Clark Kent has been doing some research on Batman and came to the conclusion that he doesn't like the way Batman operates, so he boycotts Batman's first attempt to steal Lex's kryptonite. Later on, Lex blows up the congressional hearing in an effort to make Superman seem guiltier. Superman is seen helping injured people, but Superman is blamed for the explosion anyway. This explosion happens to be the thing that pushes Batman over the edge. He breaks into Lex Corp, steals kryptonite, and starts doing push-ups in order to be ready to face Superman. Lois Lane, who has been investigating magic bullets and Lex Corp, comes to the conclusion that Lex was behind the African incident all along and the court explosion. Then she is kidnapped by Lex pushes her down a building and Superman saves her. Superman discovers that Lex also kidnapped his mother, Martha, so Superman is forced to fight Batman. They fight in ends with the anticlimactic Martha scene, and then Batman goes after Superman's mom at the same time that Superman goes after Lex. By this point, Lex had already used General Zod's body alongside his own blood to create a creature with enough power to kill Superman. The creature is born at the very moment that Superman and Batman stopped fighting and became BFFs. Superman, Batman and Wonder Woman, who was watching this whole thing from a TV monitor inside an airplane of Turkish Airlines, but is now at the right place to help Batman and Superman. They all join up and fight Doomsday together, and the movie ends with Superman sacrificing himself and killing Doomsday. I think that's all.
And there were a lot of really ideas that were a little bit too smart for me to understand.
Batman is universally acknowledged as the best character in the movie, either him or Wonder Woman. Now, we didn't need another origin story, but we got one, and I'll talk more about my issues with the way they executed it later. This Batman, unlike the previous version, is a more capable and more violent vigilante. I could almost call him an anti-hero because, honestly, that's what he is. Batman has been doing his thing for over 2 decades, and he's just tired. Even with all his dedication to stop crime, crime will never be truly over, and when he dies, nobody will remember much of him because he didn't stop crime or something. He wants to be remembered, he wants to leave a legacy, and that legacy is to prevent that something like the incident in Metropolis ever happens again. So as a character, Batman is pretty much an all-rounded one. Now, the controversy is that this Batman kills people, and Batman doesn't usually kill people. That's his rule in the comics. But honestly, I don't mind seeing a different version of Batman, especially when it's important to the story you're trying to tell, even though they don't take advantage of that. And this movie never mentioned the rule of no deaths, so I don't think it's fair to criticize this just because Batman doesn't kill in the comics. But then again, this is an adaptation of a comic book character that usually doesn't kill. So this is a grey area. I still don't like to judge it like that. I rather judge it as it is portrayed in the movie and the story. And I like this Batman. Batman's motivation was clear from the beginning. Ever since Superman appeared and the incident in Metropolis happened, he wants to kill Superman so nothing like that ever happens again. After the time gap, Batman doesn't show that much interest in going after Superman because he was keeping his motives a secret even from Alfred. Something that doesn't add up is how he knew that Lex was bringing kryptonite to Metropolis so he could eventually steal it. The only time we see Bruce hacking into LexCorp, he doesn't look for kryptonite, he just looks for the white Portuguese. And even if after reading that file, he read another one off screen, saying that kryptonite was on board, it would still not make sense. Batman's entire plan of attack relies on the use of kryptonite to weaken Superman, and if Lex hadn't brought kryptonite to Metropolis, what was Batman going to do? I get he wants to kill Superman, what I don't get is his plan. Did he knew all along that Lex was bringing kryptonite to Metropolis so he could steal it from Lex? Or did Batman have another plan? We never see him doing research on his own to find out more about Superman and his weaknesses. We only see him going after Lex and the white Portuguese. I'm guessing just like Lex, Bruce also had a quick look at the script before the movie began. Wonder Woman was pretty great, but she didn't need it to be in this film, like the other Justice League stuff. All those elements hurt the movie's pacing. Superman is pretty fucking stupid in this film, and I have no problems with stupid characters, if they are indeed retards. But Superman, or Clark, or Kal-El, whatever you wanna call him, in this movie he's one of the stupidest characters of all time, and he wasn't like that in Man of Steel. Throughout pretty much the entire movie, we are beaten in the head with the question, who is Superman to decide who lives and who dies? There are plenty of moments where this question shows up, and there are lots of problems with this question. If we are going by what the movie story is trying to tell us, then the American government should be working under the assumption that Superman killed those people in Africa. Therefore, he's a murderer. The question that should be brought up, and it was to a certain extent, is Superman above the law? Because he killed those people in Africa and got away with it. Now, we know he didn't kill those people in Africa, and Superman knows this, but he never tells anyone that he didn't kill those people.
Think of what could have happened.
Well, think about what did happen.
I didn't kill those men if that's what they think.
Fair enough, but then why the fuck are you thinking about who should you save or who shouldn't you save? She and the government are still working on the assumption that Superman killed those people. And why did she say it like that?
If Superman were here right now, what would you want to say to him?
That my family too had dreams. To look him in his eye and ask him how he decides which lives count and which ones do not.
I have no idea if she means that he didn't save her family because he didn't want to, or if he killed her family because he could. If it's the second option, then there is no reason for Clark to be thinking about that question. He didn't kill anyone, he knows this, why hasn't he told anyone else besides Lois? If it's the first option, then why isn't she being more specific? I mean, isn't the whole court situation being broadcast to the whole country? Why haven't more people talked about Superman being a mass murderer? Lex clearly sets up, in the most confusing way possible, Superman to be the suspect of all those kills. Well, it's not entirely clear. This witness talks in the most ambiguous and vague way imaginable. Just like YouTube when they introduce a new feature to their website.
Women in the village had a noise, like the sky cracked open. He came down, then came fire. Even worse came after. The government attacked. No mercy in the villages. My parents tried to run.
Okay, so when she says he came down and then came fire, there are two ways to interpret this. Number one, Superman used his laser eyes and killed all those rebels, then the Lex Luthor mercenaries burning the bodies makes sense. Number two, Superman appears, destroys the drone and the missile, the two things that everyone forgot about. Superman saves Lois and leaves. Then the government of that country attacked the village and killed those rebels and the families of the people who were there. But that doesn't make any sense. Immediately after Superman leaves, US soldiers arrive and I presume they save the survivors. So when was the government of that country supposed to have arrived and attacked the villages? Her story makes no sense. Let's just go with the first option, the one where the US government believes Superman killed those people. So, the government, or at least the people who controlled that court, believe that Superman is responsible for the deaths in Africa. But the question being thrown at the media is the one about who is Superman to decide who lives and who dies. And Clark plays along with this question. It's weird that they call him out and ask him to come to court without telling him what he's being accused of. Anyway, let's continue the storyline of the dumbest character in the movie. He spends a good chunk of his screen time doing research on Batman and decides he doesn't like the way Batman acts. I don't know what Clark sees wrong with Batman's method, so what if Batman kills criminals? It's not like Superman never killed any criminal. After that, Clark loses his faith in Superman with the whole explosion at the court. Then he either has a weird vision, hallucination or something, I don't know. But he reunites with his dead father, who gives him advice of looking for hope in his soulmate. So now Clark will have faith in Lois instead of Superman, or whatever. Then Lex forces Superman to fight Batman or Martha dies. Now we get to the good part. When he first starts talking with Batman, he admits he was wrong, and now he knows who Batman is, for some reason. First, why would he forgive or say he was wrong about Batman? The only thing he has changed is that instead of he continued to be Superman because of humanity, he does it because of Lois. And now that he has a chance of fighting the guy he doesn't agree with, why isn't he doing that? Or maybe Superman just fooling Batman, kinda, yeah, I was wrong, you're a good guy, let's be friends. Then he snaps his neck. I don't know, but let's look at the sequence with a more careful eye. Superman says he was wrong and starts telling Bruce about Lex. Then that booby trap gets activated and Superman gets annoyed. He comes closer to Batman and instead of telling him, he pushes him away.
I understand.
Like, what the fuck? Are you trying to kill him or ask him for help? Then those miniguns attack, he destroys them, and watch what he does next. Look, I'm not the biggest people person on the planet, but when you're trying to ask someone for help or explaining something they don't know, one of the worst things you can do is pick them up and throw them away like they're some ragdoll. And even worse, you fool him through a fucking building. Then we have this meme.
Find him! Save Martha!
Oh, I'm out. And there were a lot of really ideas that were a little bit too smart for me to understand.
Kill Martha! Why did you say that name? Find him! Save Martha!
Jesus Christ, great. Let's talk about Lex. Lex has a character, he's pretty inconsistent. He always seems to know what's going to happen, even if what happens makes no sense, and even if that means that some of his plans are going to fail. He always has a backup plan ready to go, like the way he started creating Doomsday, even before Batman and Superman were fighting. So if Batman had killed Superman, Doomsday would have no purpose to exist. Lex is very unstable, always seems like this weird person, the type of guy you don't want to be around with, and when he's having his dialogues, it's just painful to watch, just too much cringe. He hates superheroes because something, and hates Superman most of all. First, it seems he doesn't like Superman because Superman resembles God, and when Lex was a kid, God didn't help him. But then he makes several complaints about Kryptonians being demons.
The devils don't come from hell beneath us, no. No, they come from the sky.
He sometimes calls Superman a god, other times he's a demon.
Now, the mother of a flying demon must be a witch.
But my biggest complaint with him is that he has no end goal. It's never revealed why he wanted Superman and Batman to fight, and later why he created Doomsday. Either he wanted to create a Justice League, and Lex is not truly a villain, or the writers didn't give him a motivation. Lex has nothing. He either wants Superman to die, but then he doesn't seem that much displeased with the outcome of the final fight, or maybe he wants Batman to die, and he could have just sabotaged the kryptonite Batman stole to be just a simple green rock, and then Superman could have just killed Batman with that much ease. Or he wants to form the Justice League, and he's not truly a villain, just A dumbass. Another big problem is with Lex's plan. So he arranged for his mercenaries to kill the rebels in Africa at the same time that Lois Lane and the CIA happened to be there. So Superman could arrive and save Lois alongside with the rest of the population in that village by destroying a drone that was sent by the CIA to kill the same rebels. Then expected people to blame Superman by the dead rebels, even though the CIA should have the intel to clear Superman's name, but Lex also anticipated that the CIA would not share this information with the rest of the US departments or government, and expect the Supreme Court just to hear the testimony of the one witness that happened to be bribed.
Not only paid her, threatened her, gave her a script to learn.
Someone who isn't even American, and the American journalist who happened to be there isn't even interrogated. Then he arranged for kryptonite to be delivered to Metropolis so he could kill Superman, or having the happy coincidence of Batman stealing the kryptonite, then fight Superman with it. At the same time that he has his people in prison taking out everyone that was branded with the bat symbol, hoping that Batman wouldn't investigate into those murders. Expect that Superman would not agree with Batman's form of life and wanting to stop him, but in the end he just kidnaps Clark's mother and forces Superman to fight Batman. I think that's all. Not sure if Batman still in the Green Rock was part of Lex's plan, but I'm glad everything worked out in the end just fine. Bruce flying in the cave reminded me of Birdman, only that movie had a consistent tone from beginning to end. This one starts like we can see the metaphors of Bruce flying as a literal thing, but that doesn't keep going. There's never another scene where we get to see moments like this, so I don't know why they chose to start the movie like this. Why is there a pearl here? Did that pearl magically teleported itself from this scene to this scene? What the fuck? The scene showing how Bruce's parents are killed is also terrible. Look at this scene, it just looks stupid. Why would his father want to punch a guy that has a gun pointed at him? And it's not like it was a sucker punch. Everyone who's there can clearly see what he's doing, but he does it anyway. Why? Is he a retard? Martha Wayne is also pretty stupid. Instead of using her hands and point the gun somewhere else, somewhere not her or her son, she just admits defeat and lets the guy change the gun position to where it's more aligned with her head. I can understand one of the parents being a little slow, but why both? It almost seems like Bruce is better off without these idiots around giving him stupid advices like punching people who have guns pointed at you is really good, even when you don't have a plan or a strategy. I like how the gunman doesn't take their wallets or kill the only witness to his crime. He just felt like killing these random people on the streets that night. Wait, how is she alive? Wasn't that a headshot? This makes no sense. This is the moment where the movie stopped. We get the first trailer for the Justice League, and DC hardcore fans defended this because it's a DC thing. Why do movies need to make sense? They should just be teasers for future sequels, prequels, spin-offs. I mean, Sony did that with The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and that worked out pretty well, didn't it? Oh, never mind. The cameraman accidentally filmed Ben Affleck having a nap, and then someone that looks nothing like The Flash shows up and says not to trust Superman. I just love how unaffected Bruce Wayne seemed. Almost like he gets people coming from time portals to deliver him weird messages about the future every other Monday. I wanted to look at this scene and realize that someone in LexCorp took the time to not just design the logos for each member of the Justice League, but also to write the initials of their names as the last two words of the document. And then we have the teaser trailers for the next movies in the DC Extended Universe. To summarize the biggest problem with the movie, remember when you're doing an exam, and then you come across a question. Now this question seems easy, but you remember that your teacher told you that the exam is filled with trick questions, so you think to yourself that this must be one of them, and you fuck everything up by overthinking. This is what's wrong with this film. Now there are some positives. The action sequences are really well done. That's where Zack Snyder shines. That and the visuals. My favorite scenes were the ones with Batman, even if it doesn't make that much sense all the stuff he can do without having superpowers. Like this is impossible for a simple human. And we also have the fantastic warehouse scene. Another scene that could challenge that sequence is the one with Batman watching the end of Man of Steel from his perspective, and that whole sequence made me wonder how much better of a movie would it be if this thing had been divided into two parts. The final sequence was basically the movie just blowing its load on screen, similar to what happened in Man of Steel, so I guess if you liked it in Man of Steel, you probably like it here as well. To conclude, I just would like to give you this.
The gods hurl thunderbolts.
Resisting arrest and the felony charge of making...
Maybe one day Dad'll come back if I just keep everything the same. The red capes are coming. Now, we know better now, don't we? The devils don't come from hell beneath us, no. No, they come from the sky.
Gods and men. Prometheus went with us, and he ruined Zeus's plan to destroy mankind, and for that he was given a thunderbolt. True! And knowledge is power. And I am... no. No, what am I? What was I saying? No. The bittersweet pain among men is having knowledge with no power, because that is paradoxical, and, thank you for coming.
It's the sword of Alexander. It's the...
You flew too close to the sun.
Boy, do we have problems up here. Because God is tribal. God takes sides. No man in the sky intervened when I was... God is all-powerful. He cannot be all good. Because you, my friend, have a date. Across the bay. Ripe fruit, his hate. 2 years growing, but it did not take much. God versus man. Yes, I do. I think you will fight for that special lady in your life. Martha.
You're letting him kill Martha!
If man won't kill God.
2, 1.
The devil will do it. Born to destroy you. Your doomsday. But a bell cannot be unrung! He's hungry. He's found us. And he's coming! Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding.
I'm giving Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, the director's cut, a 3 out of 10. In all honesty, over the course of 28 times, I have actually learned to like this movie. So if there's anything to take away from my experience while watching this film and studying it, in order to prepare myself for this video, is this: it takes 28 times to start liking a terrible movie. So, if you want to torture someone, now we know how to do it. Hope you like it, see you next time, bye bye!